This week's news from the tubes on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by Malwarebytes. Whether you use a PC, a Mac, or a mobile device, Malwarebytes Premium is the company's strongest protection ever. It fights threats that traditional antivirus software can't stop, plus, it actively blocks threats like worms, rogues, dialers, trojans, spyware, and a whole lot more. It allows you to use your computer and mobile devices with confidence and peace of mind. To learn more and to get a special price, you can go to f5live.tv/malwarebytes. So let me tell you about an interesting scam that's been happening online, particularly through Google Maps. It goes like this. You lock your keys in your car, and you need a locksmith. So you grab your phone, you open Google Maps, or you open Google, you search for locksmith, you find one, there's a little button on it that says make a call. You click it, it makes a call, you talk to the locksmith that you think you're calling, they say yes, no problem, we'll be there in 15 minutes. Somebody shows up, fixes the problem, gets you into your car, and charges you way more than you thought you were going to pay, but they've already completed the job, so you pay it, they leave, and then you go on Google and say, these people are too expensive, bad review. Now, let me tell you what happened. Somebody else, not the business, not the locksmith, went to Google Maps and made a suggestion for an edit. They edited the phone number. The business owner maybe didn't create the listing, maybe doesn't check their Google My Business frequently. They don't know that this update has been made. The new phone number gets verified because somebody calls, Beehive Locksmith, how can I help you? Oh, yep, it's the right business. The phone number gets verified, but the number is not related to the locksmith. It's somebody else who is rerouting that traffic from a legitimate business to a fraudulent business who's going to overcharge you. And then going to pay the scammer who set it all up a portion of what they made. How did we find out about this? Well, because of a locksmith in Texas who discovered that his listing had been changed because people were commenting negatively on his Google listing for services that his business did not know about and did not complete. So, Google set about a very large investigation and discovered, if I'm not mistaken, over 10,000, approximately 10,000 fake and altered Google business profiles, all done by one small group. After tracking the group of individuals down, Google has actually filed suit against them for terms of service breach, and likely there's going to be fraud charges to follow on this because they did actively defraud customers. It's a fascinating scam, and apparently was huge, Avram. 10,000 fake or altered businesses all rerouting to somebody else. That's a big undertaking.
Yeah, I guess the question is, how do you prove to Google that you're the legitimate business?
Yeah, and so it's a great point. So I have, for the Forge, I have a verified Google My Business listing. So to verify the address, they literally mail you a thing with a code that you have to go verify. Microsoft does the same thing. Bing does the same thing. Yelp does the same thing as well for verifying ownership. But verifying phone number isn't great. To the best of my knowledge, I don't know that they're doing any verification on that. They are doing websites with a CNAME listing on the DNS, and they're doing physical address by sending something to the physical address. Um, but they're not, from what I can tell, they're not doing anything to verify phone number. And to the best of my knowledge, somebody can go in and put in an edit, recommend a change for the phone number on my listing, because I know they can go in and recommend changes to our hours, because they have. Now, I get a notification because I'm actively monitoring all of that stuff, but that's because I'm me, right?
Right.
Somebody running a diner or a locksmith, or a service like that, they may not be actively monitoring their Google My Business listing or have somebody to do it, which I happen to have somebody helping me with that. But legitimately, I get a push notification from Google Maps on my phone if somebody suggests an edit on Google or Yelp. Probably Bing, but who knows? Is anybody making edits on there? I don't know. Anyway, but I get a notification. But if you're not actively monitoring it, I think it's 30 days and it applies automatically.
Not good. Not good at
So
all.
it definitely seems like now that Google has discovered this, they're going to have to be reactionary, right? If they're going out of their way to sue this group of scammers, it seems like they're going to have to be reactionary on their own service and figure out a way to verify phone numbers. I don't know. That it's really interesting, because now I'm curious if that's one of the things that shows whether or not it's verified. Let's see. So if I search for the Forge, yeah, I don't see anything on here. Like you can see that it's a claimed business, but I don't see anything that verifies the address, that shows that it's a verified address. Now, in my case, I know that it is a verified address because I had to go through the process. It doesn't show that the website's verified, even though I went through that process. But then, and I'm signed in as not the business account. Right there at the bottom, suggest an edit.
Yep.
So me as whoever I want can come in here and hit suggest and edit, and I can suggest a change to the name, the type, the address, the hours, the phone number, the website, or I can mark that the business is closed. And if you don't respond to it, they may just approve it.
Yep.
Yikes. That is less than
Yeah.
ideal. I think they're going to have to put verification in. Like, show verification status.
Well, not to jump
Verifying. Go ahead.
not to jump ahead to our next topic, but if you're worried about this being poisoned by humans,
Uh huh.
what about what about AI overviews or other AI generated content about your business?
Yeah. Yeah,
I
for
mean, it
sure.
could generate all kinds of negative stuff about your business or all kinds of incorrect stuff that has a negative impact
Yeah,
um,
there's a
about your
guy
business.
there's a guy in the UK, I think. I'm trying to remember where he is. I think he's somewhere in the UK, and I think his business name has his name in it. And if you do a search for his name, the overview says that he murdered his kids, which he didn't. His kids are fine. It got the right number, genders of the kids. All that's correct, except for he murdered two of them.
Right.
Yikes.
So,
That'll hurt a business.
and right, and someone could do that to him. I mean, that could
Hmm.
just be an error that
Right.
we can't say why it happened,
Right. That could be a
but it could have
hallucination,
actually
or it could be
could be
poisoned.
poisoning. Yeah. And with I believe, let's say you had a poison page up with that information on it, you could take the poison page down, but it would still be in the training data.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So
There, who is it Cloudflare? Somebody, somebody has a new service for, I think it's Cloudflare, that is designed to overwhelm the AI or something like that with fake pages and stuff. I've actually got a link open on the other computer. Thank you, Microsoft, for linking my stuff. Cloudflare's free AI Labyrinth. That's what it's called. AI Labyrinth distracts crawlers that could steal website content to feed AI. It's something that I'm very intrigued by. I have not had a chance to dig into how it works, but that's a that's like poisoning for positivity. But then there's this other where you can do all these things through AI or whatever to harm a business or individual. In 2008 or 2012, must have been '08. It must have been Obama's first campaign. I think that's when Rick Santorum was running. Um, and this political activist uh, went on this campaign to get Google to show something gross when somebody searched for the word Santorum. And it was, it was a significantly harder task at that point to try and poison Google's not just data but their actual like search results, right? But he managed to do it. Santorum had to sue Google. It was a whole big thing. It was wild to watch from a tech perspective. I think even in the early days of the show, we probably talked about it because it was truly wild to watch. Today, it can be as easy as well the AI labyrinth, or putting up a couple of pages on a couple of domains that all have similar content. Let them get ingested into Gemini. Pull the pages down. Whoop! Too late.
yep, yep,
So there's
yeah,
lots of ways to damage a brand, and this is the kind of thing. This arena, it's possible that Google starts through Gemini starts trying to figure this information out themselves, right? To suggest their
yeah.
own edits. Facebook's been doing it for years, right? Facebook, I have a particular page that's a joke from many, many years ago. And they constantly want to change the the type of page that it is. They're like, oh, we think this might actually be one of these. Leave me alone. It's not. It's all a joke. Don't worry about it. So it wouldn't surprise me if we started seeing these edits come from Gemini, and in that case, it's even easier to pull a scam.
Yep,
So
yep. I'm telling you, it's just going to get worse.
yeah,
It's going to get worse and worse. I mean, I think we're. I think what it's going to eventually lead to is people just not knowing what's true and what's not true,
hmm, yeah,
and
because
therefore they won't believe anymore that that guy killed his kids because you can't trust
hmm,
the result.
right,
So it's going to eventually people will stop believing the bad stuff too because the chance of it being fake is so high.
hmm, yeah. So I was listening to a show this week, and the commentator was talking about conspiracy theories, and his point was, yes, The government has lied. The government has covered stuff up. There's plenty of documentation of it over decades. But Kennedy wasn't assassinated by the CIA. Right? Just because, just because, yes, the government has lied and covered things up and the media has helped and whatever doesn't mean that we didn't land on the moon, or that the Manhattan Project was trying to kill Christians in Japan, right? Like all these bizarre conspiracy theories that have been around for decades. Yes, the government lies, but it doesn't mean everything's crazy. But you get to that point because you've seen poisoned data, and you've identified that data is poisoned by the same sources that are telling you the truth on this one, but they didn't on this one. So
right, exactly.
You don't trust anything anymore. You just assume that the data source is nonsense, and anything they say, it must be the opposite. We landed on the moon, right? The Earth is round, right? Well, the government tells me, school told me the Earth is round, so it must be flat. Well, that's stupid. It's
right,
a dumb thing.
right.
It's a dumb thing to say out loud, but I get how we get there.
It's a death of authority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And legitimately, sometimes, oftentimes, at their own hand. But that doesn't mean that it's always nonsense. People make mistakes. Computers, however, the more nonsense, the more times Gemini tells people to put Elmer's glue in their mac and cheese, the less likely people are to trust the source at all. And so,
yep.
I called a locksmith. A locksmith came out and then charged me 3 times what I was supposed to pay. Now you don't trust Google or the locksmith. And none of it, Google wasn't actually involved in it. The locksmith wasn't involved in it. Nobody had any idea it was happening. But now you don't trust Google or the locksmith. And you go online to badmouth both of them. And we end up here. So I think Google has a lot of work that they have to do to shore up the quality of what's on Google Maps and their business listings. Yelp would be a great source of process, because Yelp's process is fantastic. I legitimately had to verify the phone number and the physical address, and you can see that the profile is claimed and that it's ours, and people can't make suggestions anymore because we own it. Makes it a very different process. So Google, if you're listening, take a look at how Yelp is doing it, because I think it's a fantastic process. But for those of you using Google Maps for this kind of thing, or Google in general, just remember, anything on the internet can be nonsense. So always check your sources and verify. Somebody shows up in a tow truck doesn't mean that they're the people you called. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of F5 Live Refreshing Technology. If you did, please subscribe to the channel down below, and of course hit the notification bell, because we know that subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. If you've got topics that you'd like us to talk about in the future, please comment them down below. And if you'd like to not follow us on YouTube, there's lots of ways that you can follow along with our content by going to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all of the ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.